Hi everyone, this is Regina, and this is my first BookTube, AuthorTube channel video. This is Lily, and she's accompanied me on my journey always. When I'm reading, she's usually somewhere on the couch, or even when I'm writing, nearby always. So she'll pop in every now and then. But I wanted to start by, all right, I'm gonna put her down. I love you. So this is my first video, so it's a little awkward and I have some glitches to work out, but I did set up my lights a little bit and I'm just shooting on my iPhone and a microphone nearby, so hopefully that's recording. So I guess I'm a newbie and I finally worked up the courage to start this channel. I'm not somebody who's that comfortable in front of the camera. I do most of my stuff behind the scenes. So this is new for me. So bear with my awkwardness. I thought that I would start by introducing myself, by introducing what I am reading. And I'm a writer as well, but I don't want to throw that at you too much right away. And so I'll start with what I'm reading. First of all, I wanted to do a shout out to Peter Mon from Peter Likes Books. He is my favorite BookTube channel. I think he's great. And I have a lot of favorites, but he's definitely up there, probably number one. And Peter's done a couple videos on some of the books that I sent him. So hi Peter, and it's nice to meet you via YouTube. And thanks so much for taking the time to mention my books in your video and to read them. It means a lot. And I read your book as well, and I loved it. So hopefully you saw my review on Goodreads. Hope you write more, because I really enjoyed it. So I thought I would introduce myself again by looking at some of the books that I'm reading. So it's funny I mentioned Peter, because the first book that he chose for his book club was an author that I happen to be reading at the same time. I read several of her books. She has been gone a long time, and she's had a series of ghostwriters take over for years. And if you go into any bookstore, you'll see hundreds of V.C. Andrews books. She only wrote, I don't know, maybe 10 of them, maybe less, I'm not sure. But here's one of them. This was her most famous one that came out in 1979 when I was in high school. And it's called Flowers in the Attic. You probably heard of it. It's great. It's so salacious. And I was thinking about this. This came out in 79 when I was, I would have been like a junior in high school at the time, or senior. I graduated in 80. So full disclosure, I'm not hiding it. So Peter, you're not the only old person on BookTube. I got 10 years on you, babe. Flowers in the Attic is more like brother and sister getting it on in the attic. So yeah, this is not anybody's young adult literature today, believe me. So that's an interesting subject that we can get into. The 70s were different. Since I'm a huge horror fan, I am reading, I'm started an ambitious reading task, which is to read all of Clive Barker's works, beginning with the Books of Blood and all the way up to the present. And I've read a lot of his books, so a lot of it will be a reread, but I wanted to read everything. I'm such a fan. I love Clive Barker, and I will be doing separate videos about him as I go through these works. But I'm on the Books of Blood. I'm in book 3. This is a really cool old paperback copy that I found somewhere with his artwork on it. And but I didn't read this because the print is so small for my geriatric eyes that I went to Kindle, where you can make it bigger. So yeah, I prefer books though. I love the paperbacks from hell, the old 80s books, and that book written by oh my God, what's his name? Grady Hendrix, which I'll talk about. I'm a big fan of that. So what else am I reading? Well, I'm working my way through George R.R. Not Your Bitch Martin, and I'm on Storm of Swords. But I'm a little behind, but I love it. I just have to get into it again. I tend to read a lot of things at once, which is not the greatest policy in the world, but I'm sure I'm not alone. And what else? Oh, I'm also reading, now you see my bookmark, I'm not that far. I'm reading The History of the World by Mr. See what I mean? J.M. Roberts. This is a classic world history, and I'm on the Hellenistic period, so I didn't get that far. But this is great. I mean, I keep this by my bedside. I try to read a bit, and it might take me several years to get to. I think this stops in the 90s, so a lot's happened since then. But at least I'll get the basics. Up till then, I do try to educate myself, and I don't just read fiction. So this is my nonfiction tome I've been reading. And then yesterday I went to the library, and we have a lovely little library in my hometown. I live in a very small town in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and very old and steeped in history, which I love. And I'm trying to read more current fiction and more young adult, because I'm starting to write for a young adult audience, which I will talk about in subsequent videos. So I just went to my library, and I was thrilled to see that they used to have like a little tiny young adult section kind of crammed in the corner next to the kids' books. And I love children's literature too. So, you know, I know I'm not alone. I love to read some of my old favorite childhood classics. But they moved the young adult section to its own section, and it has like a whole bunch of books, and I was thrilled. And I told the librarian, I'm like, "Ooh, I'm really happy that you have all these young adult books." And she's like, "Well, thank you for that observation and that comment. That's good to know." So I think there's, not that I really had that much to do with it, but I'm just giving a little feedback saying that, yes, adults read young adult, and we all know that. I'm trying to read more. It's through BookTube that I've even started reading young adult fiction because it's so popular. And I even read Zenith, which I will go into at some point, not to trash it because it's been trashed enough, but just to, comment on it. So this is a book called Unspoken by Sarah Rees Brennan, Bound Together, Worlds Apart. It's like a secret lover, secret friend, gothic fantasy, and it's really good. I sat down and read 100 pages last night, zipped through it. So yeah. So that's what I'm reading, and that's what I'm doing, and hopefully I'll have the courage to post this video and keep making them. So I wanted to thank you again for checking out my first channel video.